Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've been on this kick thing, Gnostic thing, living in this soul trap world. And it's funny. It's like, maybe I don't feel like I'm from somewhere else. I feel like I'm from a different time. Like, I feel like maybe I'm feeling like, hey, I'm in a time now I don't recall. I don't know where you are in reincarnation or anything like that, but I don't know. I'm just kind of playing with these ideas. That's why I love having you on, because you really get to open my third eye.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, my first thought that I can remember is there's something wrong. This is not right. There's something wrong. And come, basically, I was like, come back and get me. You've dropped me in the wrong spot. But the feeling was there's something wrong. It wasn't this world is evil. Oh my God, it's a prison planet. It's just there's something wrong with
Mm.
this place. And it was the overlay, right? The Elites grid system and control system and money system and blah 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 blah. That's what was wrong. The frequency. Um, so yeah, I think it's all good. I think this is a good place. As far as past lives and that. Obviously, I don't believe we ever die. Energy cannot be killed. It can only change form. We're all energy. And I think we go on and have different experiences in different worlds. But yeah, I think that's the overlay, right? That they create this lack and all this control and everything, and through that they get us to believe the same thing. There's something wrong with the world, right? Where there's not. All we need to do is ignore them, and this is really the way to get rid of them, is to ignore them. Stop giving them your power. Sure, we do need to learn certain things because they have the legal system, they have guns and cages and that, but information, be autodidactic, right? Which means to be self-educated, and self-education is the way forward. Understand where you are, who you are, what their systems that they use are to control you, and find solutions, because that's what we are, humans. Well, shouldn't say human, men and women, because humans, that's another legal term, the color of man. But men and women are problem solving machines. That's all we've ever done, is solve problems. And if you believe that, oh my God, you're stupid, you can't do that, blah blah blah, only these geniuses can solve problems, and people in front of you, standing on stages yelling at you, then you've lost the battle, you've lost the war. Like, we have all the answers we will ever need. We've got them now. We've just got to pay attention to them.
Yeah, I agree. Was not to keep you much longer, but I do have one thing I'm thinking about. Was there one thing that you can think about that really got you to be autodidactic, that really got you to not just like, okay, I believe these conspiracy theories, but actually like, I'm going to start like digging into this and maybe even like, consuming some of my normal time, like doing it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my first thought was there's something wrong. So I saw from a very young age, things like, one thing that stood out was that people wear masks. They're fake. That they put this fake persona out to the world, and it's not who they are. And I used to wonder, why do people do that? That's a very strange thing to do. They're pretending to be happy at the cost of their happiness. That does not make sense to me. And then I used to always wonder, because my dad, wore a suit, and I used to think, at what age do we stop wearing just clothes and we suddenly wear a suit every day, and we get our hair cut and we go to an office? Like, what's that about? So none of this stuff ever made any sense to me. So I was always thinking and contemplating, and then I was always into history, and I started looking into history when I was young, and everyone was into the pyramids of Giza, and I've never been a follower, and I was like, oh well, that's a bit too mainstream for me. And then I found the pyramids in South America, and I was like, hang on, there's something else going on here. Like, how does this work?
Mm.
And so from a young age, I just started seeing these things that didn't make sense, didn't add up. The story did not add up. And so I just over time just kept looking. Most of it was with history and looking into that. And then Graham Hancock, I guess in the early 90s, I started reading his stuff. And he was really the one that gave me the concept, first of all, of a previous advanced civilization. Because
Mm,
at that point, it was all aliens, right? Because it had
right.
to be, because of the theory of evolution, which is just a theory, by the way, guys. You know, and that's a linear line, right? We started off as an amoeba that turned into a fish, that turned into a frog, that turned into a monkey, that turned into us, right? It's a linear line that puts this society as the pinnacle. We're the best we've ever been. And I mean, you just got to look around to see that that ain't true, right?
Right.
You know, if that's true, we've done a very bad job. So all these things didn't make sense. And he was the first, and so they needed aliens. Who built the pyramids? Oh, clearly it was aliens, because we've never had any level of technology, right? They were just slaves walking around in the desert. And so he said, well, maybe there was more advancement. So I started looking down that, and you start to learn about sacred geometry. You start to learn about frequency and all these different, options. Like, what is the Great Pyramid? How did they build it? Did they levitate blocks? Well, how would you levitate a block? Well, the Earth has a negative charge. A block of sandstone is from the Earth. It has a negative charge. If you reverse that charge to a positive, it's like trying to push two magnets together, right?
Mm,
It's suddenly levitating. You can just push it. Quite, so it became obvious to me that their way of thinking was completely different to ours. So their technology was completely different to ours. And then you look into it and you find it's been covered up. It's been history, his story, not our story, has been rewritten, to get us to believe that we're at the pinnacle, we're the best we've ever been, right? And also to cover up their technology, right? Because if we knew what was going on, and if we stop and think, how did they build these buildings? How did they build that? We'd realize that we're much more powerful than we've been told. We've already had all the answers and implemented them and had these amazing societies. But they can't let us know that, because then we'll start thinking too much and we'll start creating it again, and they will lose power.